Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Stories Between Us, where we analyze the tragic stories that we'll be discovering together. Today, we're going to be analyzing the song Kiss It Better by He Is We. If you haven't listened to it by now, you can go ahead and take the time to pause this video and listen to it real quick. That way, you're all up to date on the lyrics I'm going to be talking about and stuff. So I will let you do that in 3, 2, 1. Did you listen to it? Good. All right. So the first line we have is he sits in his cell and he lays on his bed, covers his head, and closes his eyes. So we don't know what happens here. We just know that it initiates the tragedy that has happened, and it leaves mystery to, we ask the question of what happened. Why is he, in a jail cell? Why is he distressed? Because obviously he is. And what's going on? It gets us hooked right away, and it makes us question it. I also want to talk about that peaceful piano guitar that's at the beginning as well, because I find that an interesting clash with the lyrics that are actually being said, and it just adds more to the tragedy itself, because we've seen a lot of tragedies, there are sad songs playing. We don't hear nothing. There's often a song going on. All right, the next line, he sees a smoking gun, which if you don't know, that means it's the smoke coming out of the barrel of the gun. And the coward he ran, referring to the person that shot the gun. He drops the guns on the floor now. And in his arms is the bleeding love of his life. And we're talking about, I assume, the man that is in the jail cell. He's holding the love of his life. We don't know where the setting is. We don't know what was going on before. We just know that she was shot by someone who ran away, and his world kind of fell apart, and this is where the disruption gets introduced. This is where the tragedy is. And then we go to the chorus of the song, which I will only go over this once in the video, but it says, she cried, kiss it all better, I'm not ready to go, it's not your fault, love, you didn't know. And so this kind of gives me the idea that she knows him really well, enough for it to be she's assuring him. She knows he's going to blame himself, and she doesn't want him to do that. So she's telling him it's not your fault, and you didn't know, you shouldn't blame yourself for, this. But, knowing how most of these kinds of archetypes go, he's gonna blame himself anyways. And then we go on to the second verse. Her hands are so cold, and he kisses her face and says, everything will be alright. And this is kind of the reverse of what happened in the chorus, where she's assuring him. Now he's assuring her that everything will be alright. And I think it's partially also for his own sake as well. Obviously, and of course, he doesn't want her to go, but she doesn't want to go either. So it's kind of, by saying everything will be alright, he's assuring himself and trying to convince himself that everything will work out. And he's also telling her that, everything will work out. And the reassurance and the survivor's reaction is what gets us. I mean, yes, sometimes it's the characters that themselves, depending on how well we know them, but oftentimes our tears truly come when the survivor's reaction is shown. Which I find is a common occurrence in these kinds of stories. And even if it's not tragic based, even in Marvel, we see the reactions of, the loved ones of those people who died in the battle or not. We see their reaction, and that makes us feel something. It's not just the death itself, it's the reaction from the loved ones. All right, now we have the next line. of the second verse, he noticed the gun and his rage grew inside. He said, I'll avenge my lover tonight. So this kind of shows us why he was in the jail cell. He wants to get the revenge, and he probably did. And this is kind of just giving us context clues since it's our job to read between the lines, kind of. This is also like kind of representing the stages of grief as well. You know, anger, revenge, he's hurt. And it also shows that it's not linear because I forgot what the order of the stages of grief are, but anger isn't the first. And it shows like the reality of grief, that it's not always in that order, and it's not always Do you hear the rain? Anyways, yeah, it shows that grief isn't linear and grief isn't, you know, the order everyone or a lot of people think it's in. And then we get to kind of a bridge here. It says, now he sits behind prison bars, 25 to life, and she's not in his arms. He couldn't bring her back with a bullet to the heart of the back of a man who tore his world apart. And this line kind of shows that it shows grief still, but it shows that he's not angry anymore per se. He knows nothing can bring her back, and he seems more sad, depressed maybe, than he does you know, angry, because he got his revenge. Now that, you know, he's behind bars, he at least attempted to. I want to say that he did get that revenge, but now that he's in the cell, he realizes that that wasn't going to bring her back. And then there's this line, which is probably one of my favorites in here. It says, he holds on to a memory. All it is a memory. And this line really, it's the core of grief, I feel like. It means he's holding on to the good things and the memory, because that's all he has left of the person, especially now. Because now all he has of her is the memory. He doesn't have any of her belongings, that, like, if they were living together, he doesn't have the house that they shared. Because he's in a jail cell, he risked everything that he had left of her besides the memory by getting this revenge. And I think that's a very also meaningful story, and maybe even like kind of lesson to be learned, at least in like fictional stories. I don't know, that's just my thought. And then we go into the next line. He cries, stay with me until I fall asleep. Stay with me. I think that's not only, you know, fall asleep for the night, stay with me until I sleep. I think that also means stay with me until I die, until I can be with you again in, you know, afterlife or in heaven or whatever they may believe in. Stay with me until I fall asleep forever. And I think that's I don't know if that was intentional from the artist or not, but I do think that it was very clever wording, because now it can have multiple meanings. And then we have the chorus again, which I won't elaborate on again. And then the stay with me, you know, repeats again like it did last time. Except it's a little different. This time it's stay with me with the kiss it all better overlapping with it. And I don't know also if this was intentional, but it shows that she is now with him, and that she is there with him until he falls asleep one way or another, by showing that overlapping. Not only that, but it also shows that the memory, you know, it told us that all he has is the memory, and that's what he holds on to. And now we're seeing, you know, the chorus is repeated. It's a chorus, it's supposed to do that, but the chorus repeated, and now it's overlapping with his own dialogue, and it shows I chose to record this during a thunderstorm. I am so sorry. But yeah, the stay with me underlapping with the kiss it all better chorus, it gives the impression that she is with him and staying with him. And I think that's a really beautiful part and actually my favorite part of the song. Overall, I think the song is either like a myth, maybe, or it's based on something. I think it's fictional, yes, or it is based on something. It's one of those two, and I can't decide. But let's find out what it's actually about. Let's see. I have it ready here. It is fictional. It is a fictional story that they made up, which is very impressive. I think this is a really fascinating song. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but I had listened to it for a while in middle school for some reason. I was like obsessed with this song. I just liked the way it sounded. But yeah, overall, I think the song is a really beautiful and meaningful song. I think the tragedy in it is a really good like story and a tale about revenge and it not always doing what you want it to do. But anyways, let me know what you thought of this song. If you have any, questions about the lines, I will do my best to answer them as always. And let me know what song you want me to do next. I am open to any suggestions. Like I mentioned last week, I'll even do like some breakup songs if it hits the right way, I guess. But if you think it's a tragic song, put it in the comments. I might just review it, so you never know. But until next week, you guys stay curious, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!